Now to the growing debate over whether college is really worth it. In fact, the cost of college has increased roughly 25% over the past decade alone. The average four-year tuition at a public university, $56,000 for 4 years. For a private school, $140,000 for 4 years. And if you need to borrow money, boy, the news only gets worse. Americans owe, listen to this, close to $830 billion in student loan debt. That is more than the national credit card debt. Who knew that? Factor in a record unemployment rate of nearly 5% among those with college degrees. People start to wonder, what to do? Is college overrated? Joining us this morning with their thoughts, our Early Show financial advisor, Ray Martin, child and adolescent psychologist, and Early Show contributor, Dr. Jennifer Hartstein, and career expert, Nicole Williams. Good morning to you all.
Hey, good morning, Harry.
This is very interesting because you look at some of the numbers. One of the lowest number on the unemployment rate is people with college educations at 5%. Higher than it ought to be, but it's still the lowest. And you also realize people who have college education far out-earn people with less education. So those are the things we know going in. But you say there are some real pitfalls out there, especially when it comes to debt.
Well, those student loan numbers are astounding. Why is student loan so epidemic in this country? Most families are not rich enough to pay for college for their children with cash, but they're not broke enough to get enough financial aid and grants to help subsidize the cost.
They're caught in the middle.
So they,
okay.
and as a result, 2/3 of folks lean on student loans. They get into student loan debt. The average student loan debt in this country is somewhere north of $23,000. That's average. There are so many more with double or triple those numbers, Harry.
Yeah, and some people say, well, okay, this makes sense to me because this is good debt. This is a kind of a good debt. Is there such a thing as good debt?
I used to fall in the camp where I thought student loan debt was good debt, and investment in education. Colleges will tell you that. Student loan companies like Salome, of course, they'll tell you student loan debt is good debt.
Right.
And it's a belief that it is. I'm saying it's a myth. There are these myth busters out there to prove it. The 15-year default rate on student loans is north of 20%, higher than any other kind of consumer debt in the country.
Wow.
There's no other loan in the country where you can borrow 6 figures without any income or assets to prove you can repay it.
Yeah, except your degree, right?
It's like giving a child a car without training or a license to drive it.
Smart.
And lastly here, the collection rules for student loans are the harshest in the country. If you make a mistake and borrow way more than you're ever going to earn,
you're going to penalize.
You can't charge off in bankruptcy, and your wages will get garnished, and you won't get a job.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's bad debt.
No, there's a lot. There's a lot of reality. People need to be, especially in these very difficult times, need to be facing it with their eyes wide open. And if Ray's contention is true, and I think it is, you have so many people whose families make enough money that they don't really qualify for significant financial aid. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. How do you have the conversation in the family to say, you know what? You may not be going off to State U this fall.
Exactly, and I think you need to be honest with your kids starting earlier than senior year when everybody in that herd mentality is going to college. So you need to start to talk about what other options might be available, what other options they might want to do. Maybe they really have an interest in something that's not bound by education, so they can go pursue a love of cooking and take a cooking class for a semester and then go to Paris and be a pastry chef and an apprentice of some sort. So you can really find other alternatives. They call it a gap year to get finances in order to build up some resources to help you later.
Or just go work for a year.
And go work for a year. And
Save some money.
It's really up to the family to start to talk about what the reality is, because people even who had means for a significant period of time might have lost them with all of the changes in the economy.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been reading about this a lot. In the paper today, it talks about higher education equals higher pay. Not a high school graduate, you might make 24 grand in a year. If you're a college graduate, you get 55 on average. Is the degree, I have to argue that the degree is worth it.
Yeah.
It just depends on how much you spend for it, I guess.
Absolutely. And what your experience is over the course of that college diploma. Are you meeting people? Are you getting real, tangible work experiences that you can leverage and differentiate yourself once you've graduated?
Or even life experiences.
Yes. And that's exactly it, Harry, because the degree is, without question, there are a lot of industries you're not even going to be considered without that college diploma. But at at the end of the day, what the employer is looking for in this kind of economy is someone who has a proven track record. And that is through a trade program, is through internships, is through relationships. Leverage your alumni community. That's how you're going to find the job. It's not just purely this piece of paper.
I tell you, you know what? Back to Ray's original point. We've been checking with our Facebook pages and talking to our viewers, and they've been talking to us. This is from Rhonda on Facebook. She says, I've not been able to get a full-time teaching position. Then I got this wild idea. Why don't I go get a master's? I could get hired. She was passed up. She now has $80,000 in student loans. She can't make more than $15,000 subbing. I mean, she's really between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, you know, Harry, here's where the degree is worth it, but the economics of what you paid for it, the two have to be in balance here. For Rhonda, you know, that's not very good advice. All I can tell Rhonda here is look into income-based repayment option on your student loans where the payment can be 10% or less of your income to be able to afford it. And there's public service loan forgiveness for folks working for not-for-profits and teaching professions. Something Rhonda could consider here.
Yeah, you
those
really
are
have
great options to be. You don't want to be in that place in the first place.
You have to pull all the strings you can. Here's another viewer says, my oldest child is 6. We encourage him all the time to strive for a college degree. We plan on having them all go to a community college first, really smart, not just to save a little money, because I want them to have some extra time to mature, which is also really smart. Right? You both agree with that?
Oh, with that question.
There's no question.
And that point around maturity so that you can leverage that college experience so that you're not just drinking that college degree away or just, you know, taking
which
the course
is what a lot of freshmen do.
And if you're working, it's going to be more meaningful. It's going to be a more meaningful experience at the end of the day. If you're working to be part of it, it becomes much more yours.
And case in point, Harry, I didn't go to an Ivy League school. I went to community college, and I worked my way through school and served in the military. Didn't turn out too badly. I'm sitting here with you fine folks today.
There you go.
I was just going to say, because the other thing is, you go to a community college, you would be shocked at the transfer opportunities out of those into some very, very, very good schools.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, listen, we kind of got a lot of stuff done, but I have a sense that if you have a question about college costs at home or student loans, ask our experts via email, Facebook, or Twitter. We may answer you right here on The Early Show.